What's up, guys? I'm SaltEMike, and this is your Star Citizen Week in Review for March 21st, 2022. 3.17 is still in Evo Kati, and we finally get to hear about the gameplay updates that are coming to that patch, and we also had an SCL worth reviewing. All that and more on today's Week in Review. And as always, if this is your first Week in Review, this is where I take all of the official Star Citizen news and pile it into one video for you guys to consume on Monday. I do live stream on Twitch every day but Monday, so I can get that video out to you guys on twitch.tv/SaltEMike. Although I will not be streaming at all this week because I'm recording this on Sunday night. By Monday morning, by the time this video goes out, I'm going to be on a cruise ship on my honeymoon, basically. So if you guys want to keep up with any of the content, obviously this video will be here, and there'll be a lot of other videos on my second channel, at least one going out every day while I'm gone. But we do have a lot to get through, so let's get right into the video. Starting out, I mentioned earlier, 3.17 is still in Evo Kati. I assume it's at some point while I'm away, it's going to be in some sort of an open PTU because, yeah, it's March 20th right now. The video it's March 21st, so they don't have a lot of time left before the end of the quarter and whatever dates they're probably trying to hit. So in typical Star Citizen fashion, they'll probably rush it out into an open PTU and then keep it out in open PTU available for everybody for a longer period of time until they're happy to push it to live. Now, moving to video updates, we had an ISC this week, and it was a selling feature, but they started out with loot changes. So what's new in 3.17?
Up until right now, players got the same loot in different locations, so you could go to Korea or a cave or an outpost and potentially have the same content. For 3.17 though, we are changing that, and now we are tailoring the content for each location. The other addition, because up until right now, all the content was considered common content that you could even buy in shops. We are now adding the concept of rarity. We have 3 different types of rarity, so it's the common one, the uncommon one, and rare one. The uncommon one is going to be items that are not available in the shops anymore. For example, security armor or pirate armor, it's content that it's specific for a group of people. In order to make rarity a viable option, it was always intended to remove some of the items from the shops.
They touched really briefly on the fact that some items will no longer be available in shops, but there wasn't a ton of detail on exactly which ones would be and which ones wouldn't be. He also mentioned rarity, so Sam touches a bit more on that.
Don't expect to have a high percentage of spawning. We are very keen into spawn only a little bit of them. But rare items, we are applying more or less the same philosophy with ships. So eventually rare items will end up in the loot pool and can be found in different lootable crates.
This is interesting. I think by rare he almost means subscriber items, things that you buy in the store on the website. It's hard to say exactly, but I hope better items are also outside of shops and are considered rare on like the loot table, things like, I don't know, the railgun or something like that, right? Now, selling is the biggest feature coming for me in 3.17, and they give some more details on what it may look like here.
So for 3.17, the system determining what can be sold where and for how much is going to be very simple. Basically, if a shop sells an item of a certain type, they sell guns, they sell ship parts, you can then sell to that shop items of that type. The pricing will be as follows. It will start at 90% of the price that the shop sells it for, and depending on their current inventory, it will fall down to 50%, with 50% being that they are absolutely full on that item. If they do not have that exact item in their inventory, you will default down to 50% because, frankly, they don't really want to stock that thing anyways. Rarity, of course, will come into play for this, but basically the base prices of items will help to determine how much they sell for. There has been a small pass to just kind of update some of these prices to fall within line of the fact that certain items now can't be found in stores, and certain items are going to be very difficult to find in the boxes throughout the world.
The thing I liked the most was the price varying based on how much inventory that shop has of the specific item that you're selling. I think that that's pretty cool, as well as the balanced pricing on things that are more rare. Again, we don't really know exactly what rare means yet, but just having to open a loot container and maybe get excited out of something that you find because of its value is pretty cool. And then lastly on this, there's a couple quick updates that they are also making. You can detach attachments in the sell screen before you sell in case you want to keep them. For example, like a barrel attachment or something like that. And they still cannot stack items, so they implemented this quick sell button instead in case you have like a bunch of pistols, was the example that they showed on screen here. Then there was the medical gameplay feature, and the goal for them here was to share what updates are in 3.17, and the first one is pretty big.
Bleed is too harsh, and absolutely we've addressed that. It was unfortunately an oversight on our part, and we've reduced the severity of bleeding, so you won't start bleeding and keel over 2 seconds later. Instant death, we never want to have someone fall over and die immediately from a single pistol shot to the head or the foot. We've covered a couple of issues that were causing that, so 3.17 we should see that removed entirely.
So yeah, now between logins, most of your stats will persist: your health, your injuries, your hunger and thirst. So we'll see that gameplay back in the PU properly. Injuries not being seen enough, we've also added a bit of probability into it.
If you jump off a tree, there's every chance you're going to snap every bone in your body, or you're going to land like a cat. So we've introduced a little bit of a random element that doesn't scale linearly to try and achieve that. And it's really worked out, I think, quite well. We're seeing injuries more often, and it's not always at a gamified value that you reach.
Okay, that was a lot, and I didn't break much of it down because I thought all of these were key updates in my opinion. The bleed change is massive. It was insanely fast before, and I think it honestly caused server problems as well. The injury randomization is a little perplexing to me a bit. It felt to me that injuries only happened after a down state because of how quickly we died. So I thought time to kill was something that was maybe more important to address, but I'm willing to see how this pans out. It certainly is better than the current solution that we have in game in 3.16. Next up, we have Star Citizen Live. And this is all about 3.17, and it was with Todd Pappy. And the first question that stuck out was asking if refueling would get some treatment similar to mining, in the sense that there would be constant updates to it every patch almost, it feels like. And the answer opens up a door and a look at the development of the Star Citizen persistent universe.
Not in the short term. So in the short term, basically that team is finishing off resource management, which is really the power gameplay that we need to basically get the engineering gameplay in ships, as well as making sure that our environments and ships feel alive and can be taken down in different ways. So it doesn't always end with the ship actually blowing up. And then that team is also working on life support and also working on salvage right now. First
off, there are a lot of things being worked on at the moment, all of which are either career types or key systems to the future of gameplay in Star Citizen, and that's exciting. On the other hand, one team is carrying a massive load for this game because most of the company is working on Squadron 42. You know, that game that you probably didn't back for, but a majority of the money that you backed is going towards to make. I'm sorry, I had to, right? But to be fair, I don't know the size of the team working on these features, right? It could be very large, but I doubt it's a large percentage of the entire company. And then later, they also mentioned that there are multiple teams that are basically working on the PU exclusively on the content side. And unfortunately, that can also include planets and things like that. But yeah, there are teams that are working on it. So in all fairness, there are people focused on the PU, but a majority of the company is focused on Squadron. The next question that was it was asking if there is a fuel rebalance to all of the ships with refueling coming into 3.17.
Yeah, and in fact, a lot of the ships that weren't supposed to have fuel scoops, because we didn't have a way to constantly refuel them or refuel them out in the middle of nowhere, now those fuel scoops are going away, and then the rebalancing is happening as well. So again, at least in Evocati, once they can actually play it, then they should be able to see those numbers. And then obviously once we go wave 1 through 4, then they should be able to start seeing the effects of it as well.
So the answer is clearly yes, but they're balancing everything, quantum drive, all of that stuff. But the big thing here is that the small combat ships mentioned in the design post that we've seen recently, or actually it was really old, they're going to be losing those fuel scoops. So the ships that are like combat ships, things like that were mentioned in the design post, are no longer going to have fuel scoops, but I don't think that will be a massive impact. It may be, but yeah, link to that post will be in the description, but I imagine most of those ships are going to be actively engaged in combat, and their fuel's going to be going down rather than be scooping up, because scooping doesn't really happen that quickly, right? And I can't believe I'm touching on this, but it is really important. They cleared the air on the coffee vendor.
Just seems like a reskinned bartender from where we're sitting.
It is. I mean, on the surface, it is. This was one of our junior designers' kind of first tasks, and this is really how we deal with vendors. Is basically they will be different reskins of the bartender, but in reality, like where I wanted this thing to go more towards was the black market dealer.
The key thing here is it is an introductory task for a new employee. Simple as that. He then talked about a black market dealer, and it was kind of a bit all over, so I didn't put that in the clip, but he wanted it to be more personal. So this is the coffee vendor is a step into what the black market dealer may be like, where you buy and sell things from them more like tactile, and not with a kiosk like we buy and sell weapons and armor now. Then they hit us with this bomb.
I talked to Tony about it today. So they're still planning on quantum in 317 to dictate the price of 3 commodities: repair, materials, quantum fuel, and hydrogen fuel, and where service beacons occur, and the price, and then 3 probability volume tags: piracy, security, and freighters, at about a dozen locations.
The key thing to note here is they said plan, and it's not 100% locked in from what I can tell, but this is massive. I wonder how the pricing will be dictated, and how will we have any impact on it, and the probability volumes could be even bigger about who we interact with NPC-wise, for interdictions, all things like that. They then touch on the desync improvements that a lot of you have probably been hearing about.
The issue is a desync in time, not in position. So basically, right now, the way it works is the more you move, the more it's wrong. And this was really done to smooth out the movement of the ships and making sure that things aren't, just jittering all over the place. So what we've done is we've exchanged that there will be more time synchronized, but the ships might jitter a little bit more.
Now, this was commonly referred to as positional desync by the PvP community, but it was actually a time sync issue. It was introduced to fix, if you guys remember, many patches ago, ships were like jittering and going like this. It was crazy. So I think they implemented something in, like this 2-second delay that is like insane. And what ended up happening is it caused even more issues like the ones that we see today. Todd seems very unsure of how solid of a fix this is. It simply seems like a test, and they're trying to see if it works to solve some of the problems that we're having. Now, there were a lot of other things in the show, and I'm just going to go over a couple of other quick hits, but the link for SEL will be in the description, as it's an hour-long video that we can't cover everything, right? So anything that was purchased on the website cannot be sold in shops to avoid exploits. They are not planning an inventory wipe at this time, but I feel there maybe should be a personal inventory wipe, so things like FPS weapons and armor, that kind of stuff, because I think it'll tamper with the data of selling, because that's where most of our selling is going to be from, is from our personal inventory. I don't think we should lose our ships or our money or even our reputation. Refueling was the really only prioritized because Pyro is a focus this year, and it doesn't have a lot of infrastructure. I think we know that. The color variants of armors in shops are basically all removed and added to the loot table instead. This makes colored armors more unique, but also cleans up the crappy UI that we currently have for shops, and gives them a chance to update that more in the long term, but gives us this little fix in the short term. For 3.18, the cargo refactor, when ships explode, if there's cargo on them, they will drop full-sized SCU boxes instead of the small ones. 3.17 will not have any new mission content, maybe a 0.1 patch, they said. No server meshing update because it's not something Todd Pappy deals with, and they need to rework service beacons before they add refueling to the service beacons, obviously. And then for other updates, we had the St. Patrick's Day celebration, or otherwise known as Stella Fortuna. And this is basically just a sale. There's one contest called Toast the Stars, which is where you need to wear green and gold and show off your most outrageous party pictures. Rewards are a 600i with green paint for first, 400i with green paint for second, and a Cyclone MT for third. The sales are, first off, they had some limited sales where you can buy the more valuable ships like the 890, limited as in like certain times of the day you could do that, but that has already happened and passed, and the 890 jump has been sold out. They also sold some ship paints, with the new ones being on the 600i and the 400i, as well as some packs that has them all, things like that. And then they also sold a number of ship packs, as well as those 890s that have been sold out. There was a lore post that is kind of implying that AI is coming to the game. This is, honestly, it was a quite interesting read. I don't usually read a lot of the lore posts. It's about a proposal of AI from the Imperator, and there was a lot of previous travesties that have happened with AI in human history. There's a sneak peek, which really looks like the Drake Vulture cockpit, which looks really nice. I tried looking at the little details to see if there was anything related to salvage on that cockpit. I didn't see anything. And then lastly, there's a concierge change. Nothing crazy here to report, to be honest. They gave anyone that is high admiral or above, I don't even know what rank that is and how much money it is, a Star Citizen account no matter what. If you melt all your ships and you have no ships active, you still have a Star Citizen account. If they purchased a package with Squadron 42 at some point, I think up until the 15th of March or something like that, they will also have a Squadron 42 package no matter what they do. These kind of guys are typically melting and unmelting and doing all these things with their ships on the website because they care about their fleets and what they look like and their fleet composition or whatever. I don't know. But anyway, these guys have spent so much money on the game at this point anyway that they shouldn't lose a package regardless. The only thing is if they melt everything, what ship do they start with? So there has to be at least one ship there, I would imagine, but I don't know. So that'll do it this week, guys. Again, I am going on a little mini vacation, so I will be back Saturday if you guys are trying to catch any of the live streams. But for now, make sure you leave a like, comment down below on any of these topics, because honestly, this is the first week in review that we've had anything solid for quite some time. And yeah, thanks for watching, everybody. I appreciate it. And I'm going to edit this video until like 2 o'clock in the morning. So make sure you hit the like button, please. Bye, everyone. See you next week.